All right, y'all, what's going on? This is your girl Tanisha Peoples live with my homeboys, my brothers Jason B. Allen and Mr. Nehemiah D. Frank, and we are the trio that talks that real shit every Monday. We are back today with a part two from last week. Last week we talked about building for Black, and because it's an important conversation, we back this week with the same important stuff. So before we even get started, y'all, what happened over the weekend that we need to recap, if anything?
So one thing I want to discuss is the Black lady in Washington, D.C., who was leaving the Black Lives Matter Plaza with her partner and was attacked by Proud Boys. A man, actually a white, grown, big man, walked behind his sister, had his helmet, swung it in her face, knocked her out. It was unbelievable. It's really sad what's going on in this country. So there's that, right?
You know what? I think the crazy thing is that you have these people, these blind Trump followers that are following Trump, and because he refuses to concede, like, bro, you lost. Get your shit and get ready to go. And so y'all having MAGA marches and stuff like that. And it's like, these are the same people that were criticizing Black people for marching for Breonna Taylor and,
Right.
Ahmaud Arbery, all this stuff. And y'all want to hold this march in DC because Trump ass don't want to concede defeat. Like, come on now. What's wrong with our country, y'all? Like,
I think that it's the same thing that's always been wrong with it. We weren't, here's the thing, and this is why I always talk a lot about spirituality and religion. For us to have so many morals and ethics, our foundation is not on those things, right? The things that we want to believe that America represents and who we as Americans are, we are not those things, because our country for too long has attributed to the oppression, the suppression of people of color, people who don't live up to the status quo, who don't have white privilege, and we've masqueraded this throughout the world. So I mean, it's not anything shocking for me. I would definitely encourage all of us to stay, on the ground, vigilant, and empowering people to continue to change the system. Because just because Biden is in, has won the presidency, the popular vote, Kamala Harris is the first Black minority vice president of the United States. We still have a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
And I think that we have to definitely stay focused on dismantling the system.
Yeah. Did y'all want to get in on this? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, and as long as we're still saying first, we are nowhere close to being finished. I mean,
now.
Every time, like I've said before, it's like, we party in the streets because we got the first Black whatever, first female whatever. But it's like, y'all, that's so sad. And let's focus on the work. Great job. Let's keep moving. And let's celebrate while we keep working.
That part.
It's just 2020, y'all.
Yeah, that's my hope, that people won't, more people have become engaged. And I just think that it would be the most hard. Yes, people have passed away, God bless and rest their souls. However, I think that the saddest part of 2020 would be that we, as a country, as a people, we walk away the same after have lived through all of these atrocities just this year alone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I will say that I mean, a lot of white folks walk away the same, but I definitely still see a new type of energy within the Black community, because we know that our votes do matter, and we saw that happen during this past election. So we also know how to shut shit down. Atlanta didn't shut shit down. Tulsa, for the first time since probably the damn massacre, shut shit down this past summer. So we know that it doesn't matter if they're a Republican or a Democrat or, some Black person that wants to, shuckle and jive. We're going to hold their feet to the fire. And if they want to try to play games with us, we'll just shut shit down.
I know that's right. I think that's a good segue into our conversation today, because we're talking about keeping that same energy and shutting shit down, but also building for us. And so I want to introduce our guest. Again, we have a powerhouse panel of women. Shout out to the women. Shout out to the Black women. Y'all give it up. Do a little shoulder shake or something. Today we have Dr. Danielle Stewart. She was on with us last week and she's back again today. Dr. Stewart, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, thank you for having me back, everybody. Love this show. And I actually am founder and president of an organization called In School Spirit, where we are igniting the school spirit of students of color through our educational consulting. And then we've done a spinoff from that to do a nonprofit called Community Empowerment Foundation, where we actually educate, advocate, and empower the community in the name of education, offering free resources and tools.
All right. And joining us, thank you, Dr. Stewart, for that. Also joining us is Mr. Monty Terry. Miss Terry, can you tell us about yourself?
Hey, yes, I am an Atlanta native. Recently became a real estate agent here in the city. And kind of my goal is to get people of youth understand how important it is to build generational wealth, especially like at a young age. A lot of times I find that we have issues with our finances starting at a young age. We don't understand the simple things like credit. And so I think there's a lot of my classmates and friends that are starting to like build homes at this age. And so I think it's really important to get out there and get a lot of people in understanding that we can, find other ways of having multiple residual income early on.
Yes. Thank you. We definitely need that. From somebody who has anxiety around financial financial stability, not stability, but finances. Anyway, let me get off me and let's go to Ms. Cree Montague. That's your last name, right? Did I do it right?
I hope I said it right. Yes, that's right.
Tell us about yourself.
Okay, so I am also an Atlanta native. Oh, Atlanta, yay! And I am a radio personality here in Atlanta and also an Atlanta activist. On the side, I do something called Questions with Cree, where I basically provide kind of like a safe space for people to ask questions and get them answered, whether it's by me or someone in the audience or someone else that knows the answer. I kind of like serve as the outlet where I'm creating conversation through asking questions.
Cool, dopeness. So let's get started, y'all. We started just to start what Neo was talking about with keeping his energy and pushing forward as Black people. Like we are at a very pivotal moment, I guess, in history in our lifetime, where again we see we've overthrown a troll in the White House, and now we still have this this traditional political system where we're being led by an old white man, but at the same time we have a sister in the house, but we can't rely on just that, the promises that they've given us as a in their campaign and as a new administration to carry Black people, because we've seen the Democratic Party fail us time and time again. And so we want to talk about building power within our own community. So y'all, where do we start? Do we want to start with education? Do we want to start with real estate and buying a block? Do we want to start with, overall advocacy, what that advocacy and education looks like, the unlearning of oppression that, has impacted our community? Where do we want to start? We just freestyling today.
I think it would be, I would like to start with this. And Zakia's comment just came right outside. I started reading it. Thanks so much for that. I was going to definitely say we should start with how we can connect. One of the things that Atlanta is doing, we're focusing on building a student coalition across Metro Atlanta. And so we are hearing from students, from DeKalb, Gwinnett, Atlanta, Fulton, and throughout the metro area. And I think that coalition building is so important. I know that one of the books that Tanisha is reading is Powernomics, and it's a series of books by Dr. Claude Anderson. And I have
like, damn, she been reading that book for a month. Like, what's wrong with
Not because I was about to say I got my next book right here, but I'm just throwing out the books because as I've been reading and making sure that as I'm using my platform to help liberate Black minds. One of the things that has stood out in looking over one of the books that Kim mentioned to us as she was on the show about the second Reconstruction and the impact that Black senators had during that time of Reconstruction. And why am I saying that? Well, because we're seeing across the nation where we are seeing more minorities who are taking over Senate seats. So how can we continue that work? How can we continue to reach the, Emani made a good point about the youth who may not necessarily connect with generational wealth. So how do we connect with young people? And I'm just going to throw this out here, between the ages of 13 and 17 per the census, that's the next largest voting bloc. So how do we get this third party that represents the true interests of Blacks? How do we get more women and more persons of color in Senate seats? How can we really engage these youth in changing these laws?
I feel like it starts with making it a trend, like making it fun. Because I feel like while Black lives have always mattered, a lot of people didn't really support Black Lives Mattering until it became a hashtag or until it became the thing to do. So companies always knew that Black Lives Matter, but they didn't start donating until they saw other companies donating, or they didn't want to feel left out, or they didn't want to seem like they didn't support. Even though they didn't support, they didn't want to make it seem like that. So now they're doing it. So we have to figure out a way to make it a trend for Black people to be educated and for them to not just be entertainers. Because when you think about it, in retrospect, most of the people that we have in our communities that we look up to as the greats are entertainers.
Oh, wow.
And that's just because that's what that's always been our job. Even when going back to slavery times, they would pay us to what was it called? Mandingo fight. That was a form of entertainment. So we've always been the source of someone else's entertainment, and that's how they continue to control us. So we have to kind of figure out how to make it fun, because that's just what appeals. Unfortunately, that's what appeals to Black people and young Black people at that. If they see their favorite rapper doing it, they're going to 9 times out of 10 try to do it, copy it, mimic it. And it's unfortunate that we have entertainers in the position to influence, but they aren't influential at all in the ways that they need to be. Not saying they aren't influential, I'm not going to take that from them, but I consider being influential when you're actually changing the minds of people and challenging them to think outside the box, kind of as to what you just said, Jason, like, how do we get them to think differently? I think that making it a trend is how, that can kind of help subside that problem.
That's dope.
Yeah.
You know what? To echo what you're saying, I totally agree with you, Cree and Jason. And what thing that, as far as education is concerned, is we live in history so much. Like every month, every year is what, Black History Month, which is appreciated. But we also need to celebrate. Let's make history. I would love to see this year where we say, let's talk about the people who are making the history, making the change. Let's acknowledge what has happened. We live oftentimes in the slavery mentality where it's like, let's talk about when we were slaves. And then let's still celebrate the first milestones, like we just said a few minutes ago, which is we should not still be celebrating. And it's because we take the perspective of, but guess what? We were slaves not too long ago, and we're still talking about, Black History Month. So it's just kind of like, from the educational standpoint, learn from our past and push forward to make things happen. Let's be more progressive. Let's understand in multiple ways how that can work. Like you just said, Cree, maybe not just in entertainment, but also in using your skill sets. And let's find out how you can profit off those skill sets, because that's one thing we're good at. Black folks know how to make things work. We know how to make things happen. We know how to hone in our skills and really make a profit off of it. So I wish more of us would do that.
And I want to jump in, because the conversation that we were having last week was about, how we are so talented and how there's this push for entrepreneurship and all that stuff. But the education to me isn't behind it. And so while we're telling kids, like, I've seen a lot of conversation with it, like, well, during the pandemic, you should get you a C3 or an LLC or whatever, whatever credentials you need to start a business. But a lot of people don't know how to do that, so it's like, all that stuff is good. Get your paperwork from the state, but that piece is missing. I think it's critical to building, Black like we want to. And so how do we put those resources in place? And I think, Emani, you might be a good person to tackle this question and talking about that financial security and that entrepreneurship and building residual income and multiple streams of income, because we need that, but we need the education behind it too. So it won't be a constant there's nothing wrong with failure, but to fall and just stay down is not an option.
Yeah.
And a lot of people do that when they have failed businesses. So how do we talk about the education behind entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I definitely agree that we definitely a lot of times you see out of COVID, a lot of people have created these online businesses, found different ways to bring in that income, but a lot of times we spend too much time just on social media. Like we're not taking it further. Like we just have, okay, click the link in my bio, but there's nothing expanding towards that. I think kind of finding ways, like, again, like saying, creating those businesses, getting those LLCs is one thing, but I think it should start kind of like at a younger age, like within the school systems. Like we used to have trade schools where we learned about, of course, back then it was cooking and welding and all that, but I feel like there should be some form of way for us to learn just the basic necessities of what makes us as we transition into adulthood. There's a lot of times, like even myself, like I didn't get a first credit card until I graduated out of college. And there's just a lot of things that there should be more people speaking about finances. We get so caught up in people selling those credit cards or those ad links that pop up saying your credit score looks good. How about getting this? I think we should just find ways to be mindful of that and get a lot of people talking about what it is that we can do with our finances. Even just saying at an early age, talk to financial advisors. Look out for those Black banks, those businesses that we can support that will use your money and be able to give you money back. There's a lot of things that we can do. Even working at a job, take a deeper look into starting that 401k at an early age. There's a lot of businesses who do it, and we aren't aware that at the same time we're making money, we can be having residual income elsewhere. And so I think a lot of even retail stores should talk about how you can add on to it, because those little $2 or $10 or however you make that percentage, you won't miss it if it's already coming out of your check and beforehand. And so I think that's something that we should be promoting a lot.
That's good.
And if I can, Dr. Stewart, if I can go to you, because I know that that kind of like it's a trigger for me, and I want y'all to speak to this too, because I'm a first generation college student, and when I went to college, like I didn't know anything about what I was taking out, and then we would be like on campus, and the credit card companies would be there, and they'll be like, "Oh, we'll give you a T-shirt if you got if you sign up for this credit card." Next thing you know, we stacked with hella debt that we can't pay back. And I actually wrote a piece last week that said that colleges to me is the new poverty pimp. They send you to college and they underprepare us, number one, to go to college and be successful. So we go and take out all these goddamn loans that we can't pay back. Some of us drop out. You got a minimum wage job, your credit is jacked up, so we can't build like that. And to me, that's a form of predatory lending. And so what does education need to look like in the K through 12 system for us to be prepared to be financially, intelligent and be able to invest as people to build our own?
Well, first and foremost, a great question. First and foremost, this is a different generation of kids. You can't sell them the pipe dream that you sold generations before. You can't sell them the dream of college and that they can just walk on campus and they will get the job that they wanted, right after they graduate. This is a new group of kids that is going to challenge you already before they get to 12th grade. And they'll say, I've already decided college isn't for me. I can't tell you how many times kids have said to me, and I'm blown away, I can't sell them the dream. And they're right. It may not be for you, but education should be for you. And they already know, because you've got all these different avenues for learning, trades. You've got, right before they even graduate, you've got these career days that still go on. And these career days are now being tailored to show kids you don't necessarily have to go to a 4-year school to do this type of job. And so more exposure, the better. And understanding like that these kids, their mentality is stop trying to sell something to me that may not be true, may not be obtainable. I'm a first-gen college student as well. And the reality was that my parents didn't let that stop me, nor did it allow them to be deterred from going out there and getting the information that I needed to still be successful and to go and pursue my educational career. And what these kids need, no matter what they're getting in the actual classrooms, they still need that exposure. And there's schools out there that welcome that exposure because that's where they're going to get the wealth of knowledge that they need for real life skills.
That's really good.
I wanted to add in right quick about.
Can I pop in real fast before
Go ahead, Neil.
I'm really happy about what you said. We have stigmatized not going to college. But when you go back just a few generations to my grandfather's generation, right? They came from they lived in Louisiana, rural Louisiana. But my grandfather and his wife, my grandmother, they went to Black Wall Street or Tulsa, Oklahoma, Greenwood. My grandmother graduated with a 5th grade education. My grandfather graduated with, he left school with a 3rd grade education. He could not read, but he could do math. He was very talented at that. And those math skills and the skills that he learned as a young adult, he was able to start his own construction company. Now, my grandparents, they were busy, y'all. Like most old grandparents, had 15 kids. Imagine that, 15 kids. That's a lot of mouth to feed, right? A lot of mouth to feed. You got to take care of the home. My grandmother stayed at home with those kids. So it's just my grandfather. Well, that talent that he had as a construction worker, he was able to start his own business. And that trade was what kept them afloat all of those years. Some of his kids went to college, some didn't. Some of them just picked up that trade and kept going, and they're still successful, making more money than people who have graduated from college, and they have no debt.
That was perfect to the point that I was going to lead into about college readiness and college preparedness. I think that one, we know that public school systems are not equipped to be quite honest, ensure that Black and brown children have successful pathways. And so what can we do to change that? So one of the things that I always throw out is that follow the money, right? Public school districts get all of these different funds, grants from, large businesses to say, hey, we want to support with college and career readiness. Well, a lot of that training is not evident. It's not there if you look at the data, even from KIPP, where a lot of these kids go through these programs and these tracks and they're still not prepared. Because here's the reality. And most of us who are activists know this, the public education system has been failing Black and brown children for decades, right? So we're successfully graduating Black and brown students from high school, but we're not preparing them adequately for college. We are just really, and I mean, I'm a teacher, so I'm putting it all completely out there, right? We are successfully getting them to graduate high school, completing 12th grade. Because if we look at the data across the United States with colleges, whether they are PWs, PWIs, or HBCUs, Black and brown children are not making the mark like they should. And if they are, the data shows us that they're more successful in community-based schools or community-based colleges and HBCUs. So I just wanted to throw that point out there, that we have to provide additional tracks of learning for children that may not lead them to a 4-year college, but it will lead them to a successful pathway that Neo just mentioned, may not be found within a university or a college.
But I'm sorry. Go ahead, Craig.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, to add to that, we need to stop having the conversations about college and having conversations about life. College is only a piece of that. Yes. Once you get a kid to see, I talk to kids often and say, what are your short-term and long-term goals? You got to teach them what a short-term and a long-term goal is. A short-term goal is 0 to 5 years. Okay, that's great. That's pretty much college, right? What are you supposed to do after that? I mean, who's having the conversation about the roadblocks you're going to have? Who's going to have the conversations that help you tailor like your alternate plan?
That's so good that you say that. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Did you want to jump in? I think you're on mute.
A lot of pressure is put on schools and teachers, but at the end of the day, the teachers aren't the ones that, maybe they are the ones that shape the student's life, but that's
we're going to start some shit.
That's about, I don't know the sticks, I'm not a teacher, but I know out of all the teachers I had, there was maybe one, my 4th grade teacher, that kind of made me think a little differently. In retrospect, made me think about my life as a whole, not just in
good teacher.
So after I left that teacher and went to my next teacher, I still have to go home. So if my home isn't teaching me, then I go back to school, and what am I doing? I'm doing what I see at home, so then I'm not paying attention. So if I'm only on my phone paying attention to entertainment, what am I going to think the ideal level of success is? Entertainment. So when I go to school, I'm not entertained because that's not what I'm used. That's not what I was just watching all night. That's not what I was watching on the way to school. That's what I was watching when I got picked up. That's not what I was watching when I went and snuck to the bathroom, when I was skipping class. That's not my focus. So I feel like we're putting so much emphasis, and this is just society, on teachers. But at the same time, parents have to kind of upkeep what the teachers are teaching. So if the parents aren't doing their job, then ultimately the teachers are wasting their time. It's like getting a personal trainer. If you're going home and eating pizza, everything you just did in the gym is completely null and void. So if I'm going to school learning about whatever I'm learning about 1, 2, and 3, and then my mom goes home and doesn't make me do my homework, then the teacher gives me an F. My mom and the teacher are arguing. That shows me that, you know what, I can just argue my way out of something.
Right. That's good.
If I can just bag about everything. So then you have these kids that come to school and they want to argue with the teachers, and they want to argue with friends, and they want to argue with the principals, and they want to fight. So that presents a whole different problem in itself. So at the end of the day, it's not even just about the teachers, it's about the parents, because you have kids having kids. So if I didn't finish school and I don't value school, then guess what? My kid, I have a cousin, my first cousin on my mom's side, who had her first child at 16. She never got her GED. She now has 7 kids, and she's in her 30s. 7 kids. One of her 15-year-old just had a baby. So the cycle is literally repeating itself. None of her kids have graduated high school. She has 2 that are supposed to be going to college. So it's like, it literally starts at home. And it's about what your parents are showing you, because for one of her children, we tried to put her in school, tried to put her on track, get her caught up. But what did she want to do? She wanted to go back home with her mom. So at the end of the day, it's like, yes, we can try and educate people, but I'm going to listen to my mom, who is feeding me every day, before I'm going to listen to you, who's just giving me an F, make me feel bad about myself.
Right. And so you bring up such a great point. So, for those people who continue to ask for solutions, I would say one of those solutions, if you're a teacher and you're watching, is to, from the jump, day 1 or day 2 of the school year, you have got to connect with those parents immediately and make sure that there's an open line of dialogue. Even if that teacher is young, 20, and has or 22 or 23 with a 4th or 5th grader, she still wants what's best for her child too, even if society shaped her outcomes to be to lend her having a kid at 15 or 16 years old. She still wants what's best for her kid. And so for the parents who have teachers, and I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. Like, white teachers are afraid of Black mamas. They're afraid because of the stigma. That shit is a real thing. You got a few white folks that'll step out and be like, "Oh, I'm gonna make sure I have a relationship with all of my Black moms and my Black families." But that whole stereotype of the angry Black woman, like, that shit is real, and it's impressed in the minds of these white teachers. So if you're a Black parent out there, or a Black family member that takes care of a younger kid within the family unit, day 1, day 2, go introduce yourself to the teacher. Make sure that there is an open line of communication, and be as frank as possible from day 1. And I'm pretty sure things would probably be just a little bit different, hopefully better.
But I want to bring it back to something that Cree said and something that Jason said earlier, right? And something that Toya said in the chat. So earlier, Jason said that we need to build coalitions, which is absolutely true, but we also need to build community and emphasis on the unity part. Because when we talk about what kids are learning in school, but maybe unlearning at home, like Toya said, some parents don't know what they don't know. You do have a lot of babies raising babies. So I want to bring it back to like the building in Black communities, because we're not just talking about economics and, you know, education. We're talking about building Black families, black families that could be successful, families that can, you know, parent, whether that be 2-parent households or single parent households.
Most definitely.
That can, you know, pass on, like generate, like pass on morals and values along with wealth. And so how do we, when we talk about solutions with that, how do we do that too? Because we do have a lot of people that don't know. And I'm not saying excuse it, because, you know, we do have information at our fingertips. Everybody has a phone these days. And so there is stuff that you can research and figure out on your own. But at the same time, you know, upbringing ain't been the same in years. And so how do we fix that foundation of Black families and Black communities so that we can be successful in all other areas?
Tanisha, I would like to say that one of the things, it has nothing to do with education, nothing to do with business. It's about character. How do we build character? If we treated education as an institution like a business, that means, guess what? Even if you don't like it, you still got to go. Yeah, you still got to go to school on time. You still got to turn in your work. You still have to learn how to communicate. You still have to learn who the stakeholders are. You still have to learn your best practices and best habits, because those then roll over into building the foundation for if you are going to be an employee or an employer. Those are where the foundations are built. And that character, no one can take from you.
Oh, yeah.
Once you build it right.
But to add to Danielle's point, you know, President Trump, and a lot of people don't know this, and that's why I want to bring this out. President Trump's first year in office, he defunded family engagement. Now, we talk about defunding the police and everything else, but he was very strategic. I don't care how, you know, irrational or foolish he may appear to be. He was very intentional about what he was doing to Black and brown Americans. He defunded family engagement. Well, what did that do? It restricted public schools to be able to go outside of the box, because for so long, people have been fighting, like Toya mentioned, parent universities and advocating for family engagement. We know from a Black professor at Harvard, a Black woman, that Dr. Karen Mount, to shout her out. We know from her research and data that family engagement helps Black and brown children to succeed in public schools. So
Jay, let me ask you a question just real quick. Does the public school system, the traditional public school system, want to see Black and brown kids succeed? Because if they don't, so it makes sense that they will defund programs that actually, you know, support that success, you know. And so I think the real question is, like, you know, fuck what they doing, because Trump don't care about us anyway. So of course he go defund everything that, you know, helps Black people. How can we support that that engagement between the traditional school system, or build our own programs, educational programs that foster that engagement?
So I think the Karen Maps program at Harvard allows for us to do just that. In Atlanta actually has a very good family engagement program by design, because it's family and community engagement based. And that's the point that I want to throw out there, that one, we can start to ensure that these school boards are investing in family and community engagement programs. That allows those monies to go to organizations such as In School Spirit that Dr. Danielle Stewart leads. It allows us to bring in Emani to come in and support teachers that are talking about, you know, home ownership, or they're talking about, you know, especially in social studies classes, the importance of land ownership, right? But the schools don't have the funding to do that. And to be quite honest, they don't have the leadership that's willing to go out and make those programs happen and build those coalitions and partnerships. But it does work.
That's good, because let me tell you, the school will turn around and have that teacher there from 6:30 a.m. until like 5 or 7 o'clock at night, trying to pile on stuff to their list. And have them teaching about things that they aren't really skilled at teaching, such as finance. So
most definitely. I wrote down Imani's point too about, you know, having these electives back in schools, and that speaks to. I know Christina is not on, but Christina again, who is the founder of 7 Pillars Career Academy, emphasis on Career Academy, right? that her school is now infusing this into what children are learning. So I wanted to shout out Emani for, you know, highlighting that, because going through a homeowners class, and Emani, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that class may be about 2 or 3 months, but my loan for my house is like 30 years to get, or 20 years or whatever it may be. So imagine never going through this process before and trying to cram all of that into, you know, 2 or 3 months to be a homeowner on the loan that's going to be something that you're paying on for years. So how do we change that too, right?
Right.
Yep. And of course, there's a lot of things that they could implement, like you said, into those curriculum, because of course we have foreign language where they require you in elementary school to take 2 or 3 years of it, and it's mandated. And some of those things could be filtered into the school system where they apply it, and we're able to learn that, where they be finances, some of those just core values that you should understand as a human being, just making sure that once they get out into the field or doing, you know, test banking, like put them through real world situations to where once they get out, they'll be able to understand it more.
Yes, because they got our ass reading Wuthering Heights when we should be reading Powernomics. Like, I mean, let's talk about, you know, I think if anything, when we talk about, you know, how do we start building Black early on in the traditional public education system, it starts with curriculum. Like, we don't need to know about no damn, it's cute Greek mythology. Okay, fine. But that ain't some shit that's gonna help us, buy a house or learn how to, you know, like overall be financially or fiscally responsible, or, you know, be civically engaged. You know, they don't even teach civics well. You know, they're not even teaching Black history. You know, and so I think that's, you know, a really important point in the conversation about how do we build Black. Like, we got to talk about what our kids are being taught in school, and they not being taught this shit in school. They need to learn it from somewhere, and that's from us. You know,
that's good. That's so good that you say that, especially about the whole civic situation, because I mean, we learn about the presidents, we learn about other world leaders, but we don't even know how the damn like local city council works, right? Or like how the school board even works, when we're a product of the school, of what happens at the school board. So absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that Creek wanted to say something though.
I was gonna add that I feel like we need to cut the phones off, and we all need to start at the same level, because I feel like back in the day, things worked so well and they were able to build that community. Like you said, emphasis on the unity. They were able to do that because a lot of people were on the same level. A lot of people couldn't read. A lot of people couldn't write. They wanted that education. Like, it was a want. It was a need. Like, it was like, we're going to sacrifice. We're going to boycott. We are going without. And now we have so many people that have either a lot or a little. Like, it's so many different levels. So this person over here that has a lot, rather not pay 40% in taxes and vote for Joe Biden because they have so much. So they might actually resonate with Trump because they no longer resonate with the person that's uneducated and is homeless and doesn't have any money. So that's what I'm saying. We need to kind of be on at least almost the same level. It doesn't have to be the same level, because I get it. Everyone is on a different level at this point in progression with regarding the Black community, but there needs to be like a consensus level that people are willing to go to or meet people at. I feel like we don't have that sense. We don't want that community. On social media, we want that community, but if we're sitting down reflecting, we don't care about that community. Like, it's like, okay, well, I got mine. Like, I don't know why they out there protesting. Like, I'm good. And there are some people like people are protesting like what they were genuinely confused, and I'm like, because it's not about me. I feel like we've become just selfish in a sense, and so with us being selfish, we no longer can understand the pain of others, and we no longer want to meet people where they at. We just want to do it for the gram and show people that we're doing it. And okay, well, I mean, what is doing it for the gram if you lack substance? You know, like, if what you're doing isn't substantial, it's going to expire in 4 hours, then you're going to have to do it again. So it's just like, I feel like a lot of the problems we're facing is just because we're divided on so many different levels, spiritually, emotionally, sexually, mentally, financially, physically. Like, we're at first it was just divided by like either you were like light skin or dark skin, or you were a house nigga or outside nigga. Like, the division was there, but it was also more simplistic. Now it is completely like connect the dots right now. You either got an iPhone 1 or you got an the new iPhone that just came out. And then if you have the iPhone that just came out, 9 times out of 10, the person that has the very first iPhone isn't going to feel confident enough to even ask you for help to try to figure out how they can get the iPhone 12 too.
Mm-hmm. That's a really good analogy. So one of the things that you said I thought was really important. You had mentioned about the taxes, and there's a seed there. And one of the things I think the government should do is, if 50 Cent or somebody want to save taxes, then teach people your craft. You know, put that money into the community, so you don't, that's where your taxes could be cut. That's where you could receive your tax cut at. And I don't think that we give enough incentives to do that, to bridge the gap. And it's probably by design, or I don't want to assume that it's by design, but it certainly seems that way. So
it's by being selfish. I've witnessed it working in the entertainment industry. When you have a young person coming in that potentially take your job, what you've been doing for 20 and 25 and 30 years, you're not about to let that happen.
Right.
So what you're going to do, you're going to pigeonhole that person. It's just unrealistic. And me having personally experienced it and am still experiencing it, that's people that, like you said, 50 Cent, we're living in a perfect world. But in the world we live in, where people are greedy and are selfish, they're not about to teach someone that could possibly take their job. Mm-hmm. They're just, that's unfortunately, that's how I see it. Like, I feel like it's smart to teach someone so then they can come and be better. That's normal. But no, not even in entertainment, in real estate. I'm sure Emani walked in as a fresh young buck. They're looking at her like, who is this? We got to figure it out. Like that's like human nature. They're not about to just let you come in. So it's not even us fighting against the white people. We're fighting against the black people that don't want to age out. Right. And we're fighting against other women that don't want to feel old because the new young person just walked in. Then we're fighting against men and their egos, and they don't want to seem like it's a whole it's so many battles that we're fighting at one time. So it's like, if we could just get on at least one level, because there's just too many damn levels going on. So it's like, where do we really start?
I mean, I want to bring Emani in, because we haven't, because Emani, we got you over here, and it's like, we want to hear from you, but I do want to acknowledge the fact that I do want to say that, you know what, I think one of the things, when I was a case manager and I was managing a caseload of 100 girls who were involved in at-risk behavior, and I used to get down on myself because I would, throughout the time I would lose them. It's like one week they were there and they were like, Miss Tanisha, we with you. I'm gonna get my life on track. And then next week they gone. And so with that, I had to realize that, Tanisha, you can't save them all. I had to reconcile that. And so in my life, as in my older years as an activist, I've come to recognize that all Black people ain't gonna be on the same page, and that's okay. We got to move on with them. So fuck them. So just the same as we have some celebrities that, have taken their bags and they just like, I'm living in the hills and I ain't got nothing to contribute. We do have celebrities. We got LeBron James. We have Russell and Sierra just opened a school. We have a rapper from Chicago. I can't remember his name. I think Lil Durk, somebody shit. I don't know. A couple of schools and a space, a community space. So we do have those people that go get their bags and they bring the bags back to the hood. Those are people we need to be talking to. The ones that's far gone and said, hey, I cut my roots from the hood. Fuck them. But everybody else, we go work with them. And so I want to go to Emani when we talk about like investing in Black communities and real estate and stuff like that, like how some of these, what initiatives are available, because we do see something like, again, I see in Chicago personally, there are a lot of tax incentives, but they're for big corporations. But if you are a Black person trying to start some kind of like little coffee shop or something like that, you got to know the right people. You got to jump through a lot of hoops. So what do we do? How do we kind of bypass all those obstacles to get to that point where we can own our own in our own communities?
I think it's important to realize that none of us are alone. There's a lot of people who have done this before. There's a lot of people who are skilled and knowledgeable about a lot of these things that we can do. And to bring it back to when I spoke about general wealth, you kind of have to think of the big picture in mind, but you kind of have to start from the beginning. You have to start somewhere. I have a really good friend of mine in Louisiana who most of the homes that she sells are house hacks. And a lot of people aren't aware of that, but a lot of times you can use your home as also a source of income. Like a lot of times when Airbnb came out, a lot of people were, buying them, renovating them, and then trying to make money off of that. But you can also find different factors and ways of doing that as you're living day to day that doesn't require too much maintenance. A lot of time people use house hacking where the cities that allow duplexes, you live on one side and then you rent out the other side, but you kind of take on this landlord role. But between the relationship of you and your tenants, you can use that as a means of building that income. Or even if it's just a small condo downtown, there's been a lot of people who during this coronavirus have just simply buying up small properties, even just finding something that's $10,000, $15,000, getting some of those loans like the SBA loan and starting there, building it, and then just working your way up. And that way you have multiple streams of income and you're building that generational wealth. I think we get so caught up in thinking that there's a way in how we're supposed to live. You're supposed to go to school 12 years, then you go to college, then you find a job. But there's different ways that you can do so many things. Like there's a lot of people who don't even live on campus when you're at school. A lot of times we're living in apartments. You can use that even in college where you'll say, hey, we'll get together, we'll, rent out this place or find different means, not just raising money for a party or raising money for some game night. A lot of people will use their funds if they know what it's doing and what it's going towards.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
Most definitely. I thought about two things as Emani was talking. I'm always taking notes. So everybody that is watching, we definitely will be having a conversation about reparations, not today, but coming soon. But it speaks to that generational wealth. And I just wanted to highlight that because it is important, especially for those of us, as Neo mentioned, who have grandparents and great grandparents that had to leave out of school at 3rd grade or 5th grade. And so they made various sacrifices so that our parents could go to an HBCU or could be first generation high school, college graduates. Some of us are first year or, first in our family to go to college. And so those things are still happening. And kind of mentioning what Danielle talked about earlier is breaking the mode of we're still celebrating the Black first in our country and in our families and making that more of a norm. So I definitely just wanted to highlight those notes. I thought it was very powerful to this conversation, but to also do that public service announcement about that upcoming conversation on reparations.
I'm sorry, y'all. I got lost real quick. I got so much stuff going on over here. But yeah, Vicky Redmond said multiple streams of income, which is, something that Emani has been talking about, that we've all been talking about. And I know, speaking for myself, like right now, stocks are big. I don't know about y'all, but I got me some Apple stock. It's like we got to do the same thing that the white people been doing to build their wealth. We get in on that too, get our bags. So what are some ways or some things that we can do as a community to start building that wealth right now?
Well, I do want to kind of back up. So I think that we don't value enough, or it maybe perhaps it's just not a discussion at the table that's widespread in our community about the importance of having multiple streams of income. I have like 3 or 4 side hustles. One side
got an OnlyFans page,
right? So
he agreed to.
Yeah, just figuring out. No, if I know they're making money on there, I can tell you that.
They
I
are.
got an OnlyFans page, Neo. I ain't gonna sit up here in front. I sell my feet. I told the activist last week, didn't I, Jason? I got my feet on there. And I'm
When I look at these bills, I just be like, God, well, listen, I might have to call on my old students to be like, okay, y'all, I'm coming to join you because I don't know, like
That is too
I don't know
funny.
what else.
no.
But you know what? And to be serious though, I mean that is a side hustle for some people too. You know, like if somebody got let's go there. Like if somebody has a fans only page and they breaking, you know, $1,000 or $2,000 a month off of there, you know, their rent is paid. And then the other job is for, you know, that other side hustle is for something else. But that doesn't necessarily, it could be real estate. You could sell 1 or 2 houses a month if you're skilled to do that. If you're great at doing lawn work, you know, you don't have to look down on that, do that lawn work. And then over here, you could be making some money on the other side. So that way, no one is a master over you. Because when you have multiple streams of income, you know, and your boss wants to cuss you out, you don't have to sit up there and take that shit. You can be like, well, I do have 2 other streams of income. So it'll be tight for a little while, but I'm definitely about to get the hell out of this toxic situation. So
Josh is funny. You said fans only page.
So with the OnlyFans page, like I get the whole, I get the concept or whatever, but I mean, I just feel like so many people are like resorting to that, kind of how like now the whole trend is like women getting their body done or whatever. That's like the go-to thing now. And now it's the OnlyFans. So you get your body done, then you start OnlyFans. That's like the starter kit or whatever. But in that, if you are essentially trying to build like a legacy per se, should you start the OnlyFans? Because I'm like, I would like to start an OnlyFans, but that's not the type of path I'm trying to go down. But at the same time, it is another stream of income. So it's like, okay, am I being prideful right now, or am I like thinking of the future, or am I just being like dumb? Like, what is that? I guess. I guess
everybody have to have discernment to be able to, you know, if they have the discernment, and if their 10-year or 20-year plan is to run for governor of Georgia, then your ass probably don't need to have an OnlyFans page. Right. Hopefully you have enough sense or have some good folks around you to be able to say, yo, you know, this is probably not what you want to do. Delete all of this right now. Right. But if, you know, if that's not your goal and you want to do a little side hustle to get your real estate license or something, or to help you pay some of these loans off so you can go get a master's, and you want to open up, you know, OnlyFans. Like, I don't know if it's a fans only. Don't be making fun of me, Josh. I saw that little comment. But you know, you got to do what you got to do. You don't have to compromise your integrity or your values for that. It just depends where people are.
Yeah, I mean, I have a friend tells me all the time, because I'm always trying to do a whole bunch of shit. Like, and just to FYI, I really don't have a OnlyFans page, fans only page, none of them pages. I just joke, but you know, I think we have a lot of conversations about what's within our wheelhouse, right? And the friend tells me all the time, like, work your corner. Not literally work your corner. I don't work corners, but work your corner meaning stay in your lane. So the things that you are talented at, you know, capitalize on those. Now, if you have an OnlyFans page or whatever the case may be, when you look at the Kardashians and other families that have built wealth off of the most, you know, shit that we think is ridiculous, then why not? You know, if that's something that you're talented at and you can build on, then why not build it? But, you know, again, it's like Neo said, it's about discernment. But where, you know, people are, again, creating multiple streams of income off the, if you want to sell your feet, if people want to pay you to look at your toes, why not? You know, get the bag, however you want to get it. But if it's, you know, shameful to you, then it's obviously something that you shouldn't do, you know. But
Tanisha, you made a good point about bringing up the word shameful. And I think a lot of times people who do have jobs that we deem are not appropriate are shamed. And
Mm.
you know, I have always been an out of the box teacher. I'm probably that teacher that Cree was talking about, you know, and not literally, but you know, who inspired her when she was in 4th grade. And I saw Tony Terry made a comment. That's actually one of my former students' mothers, who, you know, I had the pleasure of teaching in middle school. He was on my debate team. He went on to, you know, go to Douglas High School, which is my alma mater, with our alma mater. His mom went there as well. And, you know, he's a teacher now. And he's doing a lot of the things that, you know, when I speak to him and I see the work that he's doing, a lot of the things that he had teachers that influenced him. And so we never know the impact that we're going to make on anyone. I wanted to just end on the shameful jobs that we never know how we're going to impact a student. And even my boys who figure that they want to be on the corner and side hustle, I would, even to this day, if I see them, I still will pull over and say, hey, my brother, you saving something on the side for your grandma? You saving something on the side for the kids? Because at the end of the day, if that's the path that people are going to choose, I want to make sure that at least the people that have taken care of you, which are our seniors, that you're doing something to at least make sure that they're not stressed out about making sure that your kids are okay. And that's all we can do.
And I want to go down that lane just a little bit further. So,
Hold on, wait, real quick. We got
It's
five,
really
we got
good.
4.5 minutes. Before you go on the lane, you just got to make it a quick trip. Go ahead.
You didn't take some of my time. So listen, if the brother is on the street, and let's just say if he's selling marijuana, how many states do we have that have legalized marijuana? We have whole school districts that are being funded off of the tax revenue from marijuana sales. So you ask that brother, yo, do you need me to introduce you to somebody to get you a business plan lined up? Because when Georgia gets ready to pass it, we want to have you in the front row so you can be ready to put your business plan out there and get some investors.
And that's true, but brother, at the end of the day, they may not want to do it. And I'm
they may
laughing
not.
at Michelle Johnson's comment, but to your point, yeah, I mean, we can only do what we can do, but that should not deter anyone from, you know, trying to reach as many people as possible.
Yeah. So I want to take these last couple of minutes for y'all to provide y'all closing thoughts on this conversation and just, you know, how we, again, take it back to how we build Black.
I'll say, and I'm saying this in honor of Toya, who's on tonight. And I said it today, and I said it last week, but Toya, this is for you. Be intentional. I can't say that enough. And when you think about planning your short-term and long-term goals, every decision you make as far as your hustle and what you got to do today to survive and what you're building off of so you can build a plan for the future, be intentional on all those moves, all of those moves.
And I definitely add that a lot of times we fail to understand like our value, understand like a lot of the skill sets that you have been given, hone on that, perfect your craft, take a course. Don't be afraid to ask someone for help or find that guidance, because you never realize who maybe find it helpful of some of the things that you do. Even on the side, I am a graphic designer, and I was doing logo designs at $50, and then another person paid me $150, and I was like, oh, okay. Like, you have to kind of understand your value and understand that there are people who out there who need you, and some of the skill sets that you have could be very beneficial to them.
Yes. Cree?
I would say, just personally, for anyone and everyone, take some time to just look around and pay attention, because sometimes the answers are literally right in front of us, but we're so blinded by the distractions that we see and have grown accustomed to that we can't even see what we're really supposed to be seeing. So I would encourage you, make some time to literally just quiet your mind and look around and look at what's really going on around you.
Definitely.
Jay Neo?
Yeah, so I want to echo Emani's point. Look within yourself, because you probably have talents right now that you're giving away for free that you could be charging folks for, right? I mean, that happens all the time. I was making flyers and doing all these other things for folks, and it's like, you know what? I probably could get paid making websites for people. I probably could get paid to make a website. So yeah, look within yourself because you probably have that talent. And then the last thing, the last point I would say is don't be afraid of failure, because I've had, I don't know, I must have started like five or 10 businesses before I got to the Black Wall Street Times. All of those businesses failed until I got to the Black Wall Street Times. And the Black Wall Street Times, it could still fail. I mean, you never know what's going to happen in the future. But I do have my side hustles to hopefully carry me through to the next blessing. So don't be afraid of failure. Everybody fails, even if they try to tell you that they don't, like Trump. Everybody fails at something. They just get back up and they keep going.
I just wanted to end with the new book that I'm reading. It is by Colson Whitehead. It's called The Nickel Boys. So if you are an educator who's watching, definitely for middle school, high school, I would even venture to say 5th grade students should be reading it. I think it's pretty dope. Of course, African-American based, for us, by us. I wanted to put that out there. And also, I'm going to venture out here now. I'm doing on November 30th. It's called Family Affair on Atlanta. I'm bringing together some former colleagues of mine and classmates from Dr. Karen Mapp's family engagement program, which is a good connection to this conversation about how we can build better family and community engagement programs for our public school systems and our community. So we hope that you chime in at 6 o'clock on the 30th.
Y'all definitely check it out. I just want to say real quick, believe in you. If you believe in you, but you believe in us, and together we can build. Real quick, Jesse Jackson little statement, whatever. But with that, y'all, thank y'all for joining today's Talk That Real Shit. Thank you to Dr. Danielle Stewart. Thank you to Cree Montague, and thank you to Emani Terry. It was a pleasure having you ladies and you guys sharing your knowledge with us. We hope to have you back soon. Everybody else, y'all stay good, stay real Black and proud, and have a great week, and we'll see y'all on the next TDRS. All right,
Most definitely. Peace, y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.